these skills compound over time. And so the earlier you start working on them and getting feedback on how you're doing, the better you're going to be down the line. My name is Telvin A, and I'm a product manager in the specialty chemicals industry. I went to the University of Amherst, Massachusetts, and my major was chemical engineering. I was a senior in undergrad when I decided to join the academy. I was still trying to figure out how my skills translated to the real world. I believe that's the time where a lot of seniors are also thinking of their transition into the workplace and how to prepare for that. And so that's kind of where I was at that time. The opportunity came about and I thought it would be a great chance for me to sharpen that aspect of myself before entering the workplace. Prior to the academy, most of my roles had been in engineering. I quickly realized that being a strong engineer wasn't just about solving equations, right? It was also about communicating your ideas and collaborating with people effectively and understanding how decisions are being made, which ultimately comes down to good negotiation. Once I realized that those were things that the academy was teaching, I figured that would be a good place to start in learning those skills. Before the program, what worried me the most was how to work with people. I'm an international student and I come from a different culture. And so being in this new space, I realized that there were things that might fly in my culture that might not fly here. And so it was just about understanding how I could be an effective team player and also understanding where my colleagues were coming from and just leaning into the human side of work. Things like speaking up in meetings or being confident negotiating or influencing decisions early in my career. Those were all things that I learned. The academy was very helpful in accelerating that learning for me. Engineering school teaches you how to solve technical problems, right? It doesn't always prepare you for the interpersonal side of things. And so just knowing how to do public speaking, right, and do a presentation well and engage with the audience, I think those are all things that I needed to learn. A lot of these moments came from when I was in class, right? Like we'd have a presentation and I'd be preparing for it and I'm like, why am I so nervous? Like I talk to these guys all the time. They're my colleagues. We're in the same class. We've been in the same class for at this point 4 years. Why does this thing always trip me up? And I figured there has to be some way around it, right? There has to be some sort of skills or techniques that I can use that could help me be more effective, right? And not let that anxiety or fear take over in the moment. I recently had a negotiation show up at work with one of our suppliers. They had announced like a 12% price increase on one of the components we use for our products. Instead of immediately pushing back, I reached out to my contact at the company. And so once I understood the constraints that they were working with, it became a negotiation, right? And I explained to him that this is what our business was doing, this is how we're growing, and these are some of the bottlenecks that we had, and the price was one of the big ones. And so just sort of stating my position and also trying to understand his, I think got us far. He came back and he was like, well, we can give you a 5% discount. And so that was good. That was like one of the textbook examples of negotiation. And it really made me realize that, yes, companies have policies and yes, we have to respect them, but companies are made of people, right? And if you have relationship capital, I think sometimes that can be even more valuable than some of these policies. Being able to lean into the relationship that I had with him and ask behind the scenes what was going on and allow that to influence how we came back and what we proposed to them, I think was really great. I'm always willing to push it a little bit, ask, well, can we do it? Can we do better? I think what the academy helped me with, especially with negotiation, was knowing how to structure it, right? And so you go into the negotiation knowing what you want, knowing what your partner is, knowing when you're willing to walk away, but also most importantly, starting off the negotiation by trying to understand where the other person is coming from. I think that's something that they drive in our minds in the academy, right? Like taking this growth approach instead of a zero-sum game is how they call it. And I think those are some of the things that you learn in the academy that help you in your negotiation outside of just being an industrious person. One thing I didn't expect was how valuable relationship building would be. Early on in my career, it was easy for me to focus on technical competence. So I can do this work well, I can do it quickly. But a lot of opportunities I've realized over the course of my career came from relationships, whether it's opportunities to enhance myself professionally or to grow my company or to grow my product line. A lot of these ideas have come from people or relationships that I've built up in the industry. Just being able to build relationships. And I think what was most helpful was building relationships upward, right? With some managers, executives, and senior leaders. I think what was helpful for me is always starting off realizing that there's nothing that I can really teach these people. My contribution is always going to be asymmetrical compared to what they're doing for me, right? And so it's really about making yourself coachable and listening. I think those two things, I mean, it sounds trivial, but when you consider the fact that your manager hired you, then by you being effective, you being an effective player on the team makes his work easier. Then you realize that it doesn't become about you trying to show what you can do. Of course, like always try to do a good job in your career, but it's more importantly being malleable and making people realize that you can take feedback, and then realizing that I'm in the early stages of my career. And the most important thing right now is for me to learn as much as possible. The program gave me a framework for navigating professional situations. Instead of feeling like I had to figure out everything in real time, I had the tools for communication, negotiation, and collaboration, and that made it easier to contribute early on in my career. Technical skills get you in the room. It will get you an interview. It will get you the role. But to keep that role, to show what value you bring, you have to communicate, and you have to show leadership. You have to take charge of certain things. You have to lead from your own sphere of influence. The people who advance faster in their careers are usually the ones who are able to explain complex ideas and who are willing to say, well, what if this? What if that? Can we think through some alternatives? I think those are skills that are really helpful. Before the program, I thought leadership was mostly about authority and telling people what to do. What I've since learned from that experience is that leadership is more about alignments and helping people with different expertise move in a particular direction. And so it's more about being able to identify key skills in people and nurture that for the betterment of the team. That framing is really helpful, especially when you're interacting with people that report to you, right? Your main job here is to help unblock them and help them be as creative as possible and reach their fullest potential. I tell my younger self to take the program seriously and practice the skills as much as possible. The earlier you get comfortable communicating, negotiating, and presenting ideas, the faster you'll grow. It's just a loop that you have to start early. And I think that's what's great about this program, because it starts teaching these skills to undergrads, right? And these are skills that people who are 2, 3 years, 5 years even into their career are still going to professional studies programs to learn, right? And so if you're an undergrad, or if I was telling this to my younger self, I'd be like, take advantage of it, right? Learn as much as you can. I think this program is ideally suited for students who want to translate their technical education into real impact. Students that want to grow from just delivering technical projects and get to the point where they are driving business impact. Or if you're someone who sees themselves leading projects in the future, influencing real business decisions, and managing teams, then I think these skills are going to be essential for that type of work. If you just want to put your head down and get your work done and go home, I don't know how beneficial this program might be, but even then, right, it might help you learn how to better collaborate with your teammates and communicate your ideas more effectively. So this feels like a cop-out, but I think everyone can benefit from this program, really. And it's just about how seriously you take it and how much you're willing to learn. Take maximum advantage of this program. It's a great program. These are the skills that really start to show themselves 5 years, 10 years down the line in your career. And that's always the challenge with these programs, right? Because you're learning these high-level skills and there are not too many opportunities to exercise that muscle in real time. These skills compound over time. And so the earlier you start working on them and getting feedback on how you're doing, the better you're going to be down the line. I think just finding opportunities to exercise that muscle and taking advantage as much as you can of the program is gonna do you really, really well.